All right, y'all, we back. We back, man. So look, last video you was discussing you taking your academics more seriously, etc. So I want to talk about this because this is a rough transition for a lot of people who've been playing sports their whole life. They don't know how to find their identity outside of sports. So at some point, Eric, you realize you're not going to be a professional football player. When did you feel like you realized that was not a thing for you, that was going to happen for you?
Man, honestly, I think reality set in for when I had to get surgery. So I got hurt, I think, my junior year, and I got hurt the first game of the season. And it was a season injury to where I had to get surgery and everything else. So it's like now, I'm not at practice, not at the games.
Season-ending injury?
Season-ending injury. So I broke my wrist. Broke 4 bones in my wrist, 4 other bones in my hand, and tore 6 ligaments in between. So like now, and I got the scar for it, to where I have 6 pins in my wrist. That's a scar from it, and I have an anchor that's holding my wrist together. And like still to this day, that's the most range of motion I would ever gain from that. And season.
That's the most range of motion you can have in your wrist.
So like if you look, so if I was to compare both hands, like my right hand, I can come all the way up, but then I come all the way down. There, on my right hand, I can go down a little further, right there, because of the joints and everything else, and how stiff it is, and because of the hardware that I got inside, that's as low as I can come down.
Okay.
So, give a little visual. But
got you.
That's essentially, that's my livelihood right there. So luckily, best thing about playing sports, especially at the collegiate level, is that you have doctors, you have physicians, you have everybody on the medical staff that can pretty much, and even for what my major was, essentially I did my own rehab. I still had provisions and guidance while doing it, but this is essentially what I went to school for.
Sports medicine.
Sports medicine. So now, transitioning from the athletic side of it, I have to use what I've learned thus far to get myself back to 100%. Not only so I can get back on the field, but also just everyday life. Because I'm telling you, we take, like I said earlier, you take some things for granted. Trying to cook, your basic essentials, things like that. I'm trying to cook. I'm ambidextrous, and I was ambidextrous before the injury. But if I'm trying to, let's say I got something on the stove, like you don't want the pot just rolling around and everything else. You need something to hold it with. I couldn't do that. So, I had to lean on my teammates, put my pride aside and start asking for help. I got a cast, but I can't do things like I want to. Something is like opening up a jar, like peanut butter or like pickles or whatever else. It's sealed tight.
Right.
Sometimes, man, I'm putting it in the headlock, like trying to come down here, trying to twist the turn, or putting the jar down on the floor, putting it in between my feet, just so I can get some grip to try to open stuff up. Man.
Right.
So it humbled me a lot that, hey, you need to take this school thing a little more serious, because if this was to happen to me in the NFL, I'm booted. What else can I do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm somebody that likes to eat. So definitely once it started affecting about how I'm going to eat and, my cooking abilities, yeah, it's time to like transition, and this thing in a split second, I got hurt doing something I've been doing for my whole entire career, tackling somebody.
Right.
So I've been doing this for almost 10 plus years, and now I'm in a situation where I do something that I felt was routine, and now I'm hurt. So, you kind of got to grow up a little bit and realize, hey, if you getting broken down, stuff like this at this level, the NFL may not be the best thing for you, let alone I'm already outreaching it because I'm at a D2 level. Now, granted, things change now to where they come to find small player schools and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time in that period, small player athletes wasn't really still a big thing as prominent as it is now.
Right. The D2, they weren't really going to D2 as much.
Exactly. And even now, in this case, you got more undrafted players playing in the league than probably ever before. Especially like with what Deion just did, going down to Jackson State and all that stuff, trying to change the narrative on how players are being recruited. Stealing 5-star athletes, bringing them to smaller schools like HBCUs and Division IIs, D3s, and NAIA schools for that matter. Having that narrative change to where sports are now, we didn't have that back then. So you kind of got to like be more a little realistic about what your future is and what it's going to be. So getting that injury is what made me have that transition.
Got you. I want to segue real quick. You just brought something up about we're seeing more undrafted players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's they it's a lot of them flourishing in the league, etc. I saw, because I follow HBCU page. I'm an alum of HBCU, Mississippi Valley State University, swag school. I follow a lot of HBCU football pages, and they discuss. They believe that there is like an incentive, like they don't want top talent going to HBCUs, so they're not drafting them. They're just taking them on undrafted rather than trying to draft them and making a concerted effort to really scout these players for real and draft them. They scouting them, they feel like, but not to draft them, going to undrafted. Do you think there is they're trying to deter players from going to HBCU route to keep? Okay.
Yeah, because that's a selling point. Look at the Alabamas, the Floridas, the LSUs of the world, the SEC in itself, or the Big Ten, your major Power 5 schools. Them bragging rights. Hey, you come to my program, you come play in my school, you going to get drafted. It's guaranteed because of the long-standing history. I think history repeats itself.
Right.
The long-standing history of said school, hey, this how many players we get drafted every year. This how many players we get to go to the first round. You come to my program, you play under me. This is what's going to happen to you. It's almost a no-brainer.
Right.
And in hindsight, of them players that get drafted, how many of them actually still playing in the league right now? AJ McCarron, national championship, with Alabama as a quarterback. He playing in the XFL right now in St. Louis.
I didn't even know that's where AJ McCarron at.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He's playing on the UFL team.
Alabama quarterbacks always they do well. And I mean, look at what's the boy name, man? Mac Jones.
Yeah.
He hanging on by a thread right now.
Yeah.
Jake Coker and Blake Sims, etc. Yeah.
And I'm not even trying to take a shot at my boy, but like Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson was one of the most dominated running backs that came from Alabama. But he didn't transition over into the league, and he didn't even barely made it out his rookie year.
He did. I remember Jim Brown got a lot of flack because Jim Brown said he didn't think Trent was going to be successful like that. Yeah. They said, Jim, you being an old hater, this is the case of the old player hating on the new generation. Some say, no, Jim could see he's running behind a NFL-ready offensive line in college. So he's already at an advantage. Not saying that Trent wasn't good, because he was. You got to be scared. He was good. But they think he couldn't hit the holes. Probably like he was just running. He already was at an advantage playing behind.
Physically.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Physically, and he was physical specimen, but then playing behind a offensive line like that,
right?
They felt like he was already at an advantage to do what he did.
I mean, even then, I would think Mark Ingram's career would be a lot longer than what it is.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I can say the same thing about, and I love Odell. Odell, one of my favorite receivers, and even then, he's shopping from team to team to team to team to team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things too. It's just like you can still go to these Power 5 schools, whatever the case may be. But everything don't also transition over to the NFL. Luckily, with these players, these some of my favorite players, and I ain't knocking them at all. With these players, they were top power schools. They top power athletes that played at Power 5 schools, made their money at the NFL. But I wanted, just for me as a fan, wanted their careers to be a lot longer than what they were. But also at the same time, it's like I said, you asked what was hard about going to, even at a Division II school, it becomes a business. It honestly does. It becomes a business. And once you realize the business side of things, then you kind of have more of insight of exactly like how the rest of the sports world is actually, how they generate revenue in the business. Coaches changes, players transfer from school to school with portals and stuff like that that's going on now. Like, it's legit a business, and everybody's in the business to win.
Speaking of the portal, me and you was having a conversation in the car. Mm-hmm. Nick Saban's departure from Alabama. Mm-hmm. You believe it's solely due to these rule changes that happened.
Yeah. He lost control, just like the NCAA did. And I'm happy. I'm all for the portal. I'm all for the portal. I'm all for the players getting NILs because I know how it was as an athlete with me going to school. I didn't, we can only do so much because things, awards. Look at Terrell Pryor and what happened at Ohio State. They got some gifts. And it affected the rest of his college career. It affected Jim Tressel still coaching at Ohio State. Because somebody gave him a gift.
Yeah. And I think crazy. Terrell, somebody gave him free tattoos or something like that or something like that.
Like, yeah. I ain't got no, man, let the man, because he sold some memorabilia of his own stuff.
Right.
It's no different. In fact, prime example, Reggie Bush just got his Heisman back.
Yep.
He just got his Heisman back. They should never took it to begin with.
Matter of fact, NCAA college football
is coming back.
Yeah.
This year. And I was a big fan. That was my number one game that I played in college. Me, my roommate Will Bassler, we was having NCAA tournaments, and I was always playing with my dogs. LSU, and I had Tyrann Matthew on there and everything else, man. And Mo Claiborne and all that other stuff.
Yeah, Morris
He
Claiborne.
was dogging. I was dogging when
Pat
we played
Peterson
LSU.
them on there, man.
Yeah, was dogging when
Pat
I
Peterson,
played.
yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, Pat was there.
yeah.
Pat was there.
So yeah, so you're in favor of NIL because a lot of you got some people is criticizing, is making these kids they're not trying to stick around and compete.
They hating. What's the difference between college football players getting NILs and then the one and done on the basketball side of it?
Right.
What's the difference?
True.
We got to stay there for 3. One and done. I'm going ahead, do my year in college, and I'm going. I'm doing my semester in college for real. If you're being honest. Because let's say I don't make it to the tournament, fall, spring, whenever basketball in March, rather, I do my 1 year, I'm gone. And here's the other thing: how often are they really in school? They traveling. They travel more than football do.
They do.
So how they you get what I'm saying? I ain't knocking them. That's the sport for what it is. But let these people go make their money, man. This is probably some of the most money that any of us ever made in our life. And you people want to stand in the way of that? I'm all about people getting their dollars, bro.
For sure.
I'm all about people getting their dollars.
So do you think a player can do 1 year in college in football and go straight to the league?
I don't think it'd be beneficial for him, truthfully. Because football IQ wise, it's so much development physically that you have to do, but then also too, just the coaching styles change. You know, whatever your coach did in high school, you fat that system. For me being all around, the reason why I say I'm all around DB, one, because I played safety and corner, but then two, I played in so many different schematics. I had different coordinators to where I played. In high school, I was in the 4-3. We had certain packages in high school. College, I played in the 4-3, ended up playing in the 3-4, ended up playing in the 3-3-5, ended up playing in the 4-2-6. Like, it's so many different schemes.
When you say you got a package,
yeah.
Explain what that is.
So a package in general is like you have so many different plays based on formation. You know, let's say the offense come out with this, we're going to go ahead and throw a dime package in, which means we're going to have more DBs on the field to cover the multiple receivers on the field, you know, to make us have the same advantage as the offense will. Because me being on the field, somebody or to my caliber, my attributes, versus a stocky linebacker, physically they outmatched.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a mismatch in that case, and we trying to be successful. Again, my job is to keep everybody out the end zone. So at least I need to count the other 10 people on the field to help make me successful in doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as the offense lining up with 3 receivers, I need to make sure I can at least have the right people on the field to make sure that we successful in defending our turf.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say packages, it's a schematic thing of, okay, this is what the offense doing, this is what we gonna do, or this is how we're going to counteract what the offense doing based on this package.
Oh, okay, I get you.
I mean. So when I say packages, there's a whole bunch of different formations, a whole bunch of different plays, terminology that come along with that based on what the offense is doing. Because you got to think at the same time, outside of film session, defense is pretty much guessing.
Right.
We can kind of have an idea what they're doing based on study sessions, but you really don't know if it's going to be a run or a pass or a trick play. You know what I mean? So you got to have the right package in there to at least make us successful on that side.
So you say, your offense is guessing, basically. Defense is guessing what the offense do, what the offense is going to do. Let me ask you about Bill Belichick and them, the Patriot way, recording. Do you think they put them at a great advantage?
Nah, because if it was, Bill Belichick could have another ring and not Tom Brady. And that's what I love about when Tom left the Patriots and went to Tampa, because I always, in my lifetime and career, especially playing sports, I want to always know who was the brains of the operation. Was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick? It was a collaboration of the two.
Right.
Well, we seen what happened when they split off and went and did their own thing. Tom Brady elevated, Belichick struggled.
For sure.
So in that hindsight, you can be the smartest coordinator and everything else. It don't matter if you ain't got the right players. We see that what's happening with the Bears right now. Justin Fields wasn't necessarily set up in the right position to be successful as he was.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they made all these moves in the offseason, getting all these players making, trades and stuff like that, he got the perfect receivers around him now.
Yeah.
But they just sent them off to Pittsburgh. I ain't happy about that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this year would be the best year he probably ever had. And then too, he got thrown into, a starting quarterback position after Andy Dalton got hurt.
Right.
He wasn't ready. So that's why I say too.
Offensive coordinators keep changing, etc.
Coordinators changing, And with that change, you go into a new package, you get a new playbook and everything else. Everything that you just learned, you got to scrap everything and learn all over again. And some stuff kind of mirror each other, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's only so many plays you can actually run, but the terminology, like I said, the terminology changes. You know, it goes down to even with me firefighting. How the terminology I use in firefighting in one department is different than what we use in somewhere else.
Man, correct. Now, see, you and my man be in the same place. My next question was going to go straight to your career now.
Okay.
Earlier in the video, we discussed you realizing you're not going to be a professional football player, right? You speak about taking your your academics seriously, etc. You are now a fireman, right? What led you down that path towards that? What led you to that career path, down that career path?
Man, it's like I tell everybody. I always show them this picture right here. So this has been something that's been stuck in my bloodline for a long time. So like my uncle was a firefighter here for the city. He worked his way up the ranks and everything else, became a retired bat chief and everything else, and lived a pretty much good life behind it.
A retired what?
Retired battalion chief.
Okay.
So when I say bat chief,
battalion chief
for short.
In Chicago.
In Chicago, and that's something to do. Something hard to do, especially in his era growing up and stuff like that. Promotions and things wasn't really favorable for African Americans at that time, and it's still challenges that's within the industry in itself, not just here, but within the industry that a lot of us face, trying to promote and things like that. But I always had a love of helping people. So like even with me going into sports medicine as my major, I enjoy helping people. I love sports at the same time, but it was also my way of giving back. My family always has been big on service. So I got family members that are police officers. Like I said, my uncle's a firefighter. I got another cousin that's a firefighter currently for the city. My auntie, she's a nurse practitioner and stuff like that. Most women in my family were either teachers or educators. But we was always big on service. So that a lot of that started from my great grandfather. He's a World War II vet and all this other good stuff. But it just triggered. It triggered its way down the family line. So, but having those kind of peers and mentors to help raise me, because it takes a village, is what led me to do something else that I love outside of sports. Firefighting is almost essentially a sport in itself. You got to work with a group of guys. You got to be on the same page. The biggest mission for us is go help people and also make our way back home.
Got you. Right. So what year did you start your career as a fireman?
Professionally, I would say I started probably in 2016, so right after college.
Got you.
Right after college, I joined what's called a volunteer fire department down in downstate Illinois, right outside of St. Louis in the city of O'Fallon. I started that, but also prior to then, while I was still here in high school, actually, I was in the CPFTA program, which is the Chicago Police and Fire Training Academy, which you can earn elective credits as a sophomore in high school, and then throughout your career throughout your high school career, you get those elective courses. So after school, you go on to the Quinn Training Academy. Downtown, right up there off of Klein, and you're starting to do firefighter activities and learning the system, learning how CFD operates. It's recruiting. It's recruiting for the city. They're starting you at a high school level to getting people started on what they want to do with their careers and their lives as they become older.
Gotcha.
So I started off doing that. I juggled trying to do that and play sports at the same time. Of course, having an immature mindset at the time, with also being a kid, I figured that's something I'm gonna do long term down the road. Let me enjoy being a kid first. So that's why I actually exit that program and then continue to play sports. But again, it all kind of worked out for me at the end of the day.
For sure. Describe your most challenging day as a firefighter.
And my most challenging day as a firefighter. I think probably any situation where it's a loss of life, it'd probably be the most challenging day. Whether it be a kid or just somebody else's loved one that I couldn't, help save at the time. That's probably the most challenging thing because, here, essentially I'm here to try to help somebody. And the fact that I couldn't or fully do my job efficiently, that bothers me.
You have a specific incident in mind? Did you know?
I got a couple. But
I got you, yeah. Self-respect,
yeah.
talks about, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So being a fighter, what is the best part about, I'm assuming is you helping people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to just let you speak. What is the best part about being a fighter for you?
I mean, right around the big red, as I call it, having the trucks and things like that, the equipment, and just as technology changes throughout the day, the technology that comes in to help us do our job. You know, being able to work with different tools. You know, understanding cars a little bit more than what I did than growing up. Understanding like locomotives, how electricity works. You know, everything nowadays is turning battery operated. You know? But also too doing that, and also with the guys that I work with. You know, it's almost a sense like being back in the locker room almost. You know, I'm stuck with a good group of guys for 24 hours throughout the day, and it's just like playing sports. I'm with my teammates more than I was at home. So of course, this is my second family. So really, the big thing that I love about it the most is honestly the guys that you come along with, the guys that you work with. Because again, we all have different backgrounds in ourselves than what got us here. Just like in playing sports and being in the locker room, like I said. So having that diverse background of guys that you work with, and then learning from each other and understand, hey, we all here for the same thing. That's also a rewarding feeling, and that's something that you can't just take away from anybody.
For sure. We got about 40 seconds left. I want you to just say this part because you dress, you got the colors on. You're a brother of what fraternity?
I am a brother of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. The oldest and the coldest, the only fraternity that even matters, as we all
Stop
know.
Playing. Cap Alpha Psi Phi Nu Pi.
Here
you go.
The only fraternity that matters, man. You know what's up.
Here you go, man. Shout out to your brothers, man. Give a shout out
to. Hey, 06 to the good brothers, and the good brothers know exactly who they is.
All right, my brother, man. It's been great having you on the channel. I appreciate you. Long way. Been my brother since 4th grade, man. Always glad to have you on finally.
Love, bro.
All right, y'all. Peace.